That's Team Germany going through its final pregame thoughts. Meanwhile, Great Britain is out on the field. The wind over the last couple of hours has really been howling consistently here on the beach, reaching speeds of 45 to 50 kilometers per hour. And it's a significant factor in this game. Is it too simple to say this game boils down to who handles the wind better? A great view of the beach here in Dubai on the shores of the Persian Gulf. Some interesting sunglasses choices wherever you walk, and some great ultimate being played. The volunteers doing a tremendous job running this tournament. The lunches have been tasty and plentiful, and it is an absolute thrill to be here. Again, these two teams heading into today's action. Great Britain was 3-1, Germany was 3-2. Both these squads chasing Team USA. Team Russia has been a very pleasant surprise in the women's bracket as well. And with Russia in a pretty good spot, advancing into the semis seems likely. So you look at this bracket and you basically have maybe 4 teams for 5 teams for 4 semifinal berths, and it's all about matchups and the quarterfinals coming up later this afternoon. So a loss here, then you have to bounce back and play Team Canada. Could be a challenge. Captains for Team Germany, Jannika Kappelmann and Melanie Neunart. Germany team lost to USA and Russia, but then beat Courier Island, UAE, and then beat Canada by 3 in pool play. I'm sure the Canadians would love another shot at that German team. Rebecca Forth and Katie Forth leading Great Britain. They started playing Ultimate back in 1994, the Forth sisters. And a gutsy first catch on that pull with this wind, and that was Izzy Burke. As Great Britain in the red working into the wind right now, and it's really been swirling. There are times we've had an upwind, downwind. I'd say mostly it's been a crosswind. And what do you think of this? It looks like a 3-person cup. This is going to be a game of hucks, do you think? 7 teams in the women's division. Round robin followed by the pre-semis, where the first seed will have a bye. 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, and 4 versus 5. And this is basically a game to be in that top 3. Along with Team USA, who likely will get that bye. barring a shocking result this round. Germany working downfield, but the wind causing havoc. Birtwistle initiated that disc in play. And again, Birtwistle up line. This is Katie Forth. Marked tightly. Jannica Koppelman, one of the captains, former gymnast, and ultimate at university like so many of these other players. This Great Britain team should have some pretty good chemistry. 11 different players from the women's club team Iceni. The Forth twins especially have had great success leading teams at the great Italian beach tournament Paganello. The tournament that has now officially become on my bucket list after talking to so many players this week. Have you been?
I have never been, but I've heard the level of play that is offered, as well as the level of camaraderie.
Sure.
Just with teams, but of course internationally as well.
You did play at the first Beach Worlds back in 2004. Does this tournament bear resemblance to the one you played in back then? So Germany working downfield. Big layout D. Understand we're having some audio issues we will aim to correct. .50-50 disc, and Forth comes down with it. Great Britain trying to cap off the marathon first point, and the Brits able to strike. It was Katie Forth hauling that disc in on the 50-50, and then a nice floaty flip to the end zone where Jackie Veralls gives the Brits a 1-0 lead. Remember that India-Germany game? Or India-Canada game. India-Germany game earlier when India was up 4-0 about 6 minutes into the game. That was before the wind really picked up.
Yeah, the pace of the game slowed a little bit after that, but not significantly. And here we are 6 minutes in, only 1 point having been scored. A different pace having it start out as windy and gusty as it is right now.
Megan, it's great to hear you.
Thank you, Evan.
Apologies for the audio issues and a German mistake in the end zone. The drop from Sophia Wagner. So we'll see if Great Britain can pounce here early. This is Rebecca Forth.
And here's where the mettle of the defense is truly tested, when you have to come out as fiery as possible The disc is on the opposing team's end zone line. There's no room for mistakes.
There's also no such thing as an easy throw in this game, although Rebecca Forth made that look pretty easy. Nikki Prien falls in the goal for Great Britain. High release backhand.
I was just about to say, any high release pass and win like this becomes less reliable. It's harder to put the kind of spin on it you need to cut through these gusts. Clearly a very accomplished veteran player to be able to hit her mark like that in this wind.
So a 2-zip lead for the United Kingdom. Entering this week, Great Britain was seeded as the 4th team in the field. Germany seeded 5th. USA 1, Canada 2, Russia 3. 7 countries participating in the women's division here in Dubai. So the German team trying to put some offense together. Center handler Sophie Flammer. Thinking big, but nowhere for Svenja Wagner to go. Great job to keep that disc alive. The lone Japanese-born player on this Germany team, Kyoko Hosokawa, whose parents moved to Germany around age 4 or 5, but Great Britain comes up with a turnover and looking very sharp early on for a 3-0 lead, and there it is. Another assist for Katie Forth, and in the end zone laying out Lauren Bullman. Germany's in trouble here, Megan.
Absolutely. It's certainly a combination of chemistry that's going in favor of Great Britain, but also patience. You notice them really taking their time, hitting their marks right on the money. That is certainly no accident, and in this gusty breeze, it takes a lot of forethought and almost sweat-inducing patience to keep your errant throws holstered.
This Germany team largely comes from parts all across the country. And one of their captains, Jannika Koppelman, was telling us before, we're very homogenous. We don't have a lot of superior players, but we're very balanced. These two countries have met not that long ago. But another key mistake here from Germany. Just giving the Great Britain team a 4-0 lead. That was a simple gift.
And Forth putting up yet another backhand toss. I'm sure Germany is taking a look at that and recognizing they need to be ready to take that away from her.
These two teams met just 3 weeks ago a couple times in Lisbon, Portugal. Played them in these conditions. It was very windy there as well, and they played twice, and the two teams split the 2 meetings. But as you can see, the 4-zip score.
Well, we saw in the last game Germany went down 4-0 and were able to pull it back within 1. However, conditions were a little bit different at the start of that game, giving the German men's team a little time to gain back that distance.
After watching this German women's team play Team USA on Sunday, does it surprise you how flat they've come out here?
No, I think, as I mentioned earlier, that defensively they were strong from the start, but offensively they were a little bit slow to get going. A few key errors have caused them to not even give their offense time to coalesce and gel in this wind. And when you get this far into the game with so few touches offensively, it can be very hard to combat that.
Katie Bachmann. And just a careless throw. Not enough rotation on that disc. Throwing with the wind at her back there, but the wind just buried that disc. And that's a great converse throw 5-zip Great Britain. It started with Izzy Burke, that low release backhand that had that hovering quality that you're looking for in this wind. That tight grip, tight rotation on the release. And that's just what is necessary in these conditions.
Gonna throw right down the lane between two German defenders to Lisa Bowen, who recognized that her position was optimal even though there were two German defenders in the way. She held her ground and got that toss.
See the breeze whistling the 5 ultimate flag. Germany has taken a timeout, their only timeout in the game. Evan Lepler, Megan Tormey with you here on the beautiful beaches of Dubai, on the shore of the Persian Gulf in the United Arab Emirates. And Germany has had a couple close plays, but for the most part, it has been clear domination. This was the opening score, and you just got the sense here, the perfect throw to space in that situation when there was no defender nearby. Gave the offense plenty of time to get there, and unforced errors from Japan and Great Britain, very smooth offensively.
Yeah, I feel like in a game where conditions are this awful, considering our sport and the implement we use with which to play, there's this tension that hangs in the air until that first point is scored. And when that team gets the relief from that tension, it goes so much more their way.
Did you just refer to the disc as an implement?
I believe I did.
We love innovation, especially when it comes to vocabulary. So I really appreciate that, and I'm going to steal that from you.
Please, by all means. Needless to say, it's much different than throwing a ball around in this wind.
Yes, indeed. So Great Britain to pull, leading 5-zip. It's 5-on-5 beach ultimate game, played to 13. Top cap would go on at 45 minutes. And things are just really getting tougher for Germany. They're going straight into the wind right now. Probably the most consecutive passes they've completed. Now they air it out. Nikki Prien there defending, and the throw goes over the head of the target, Hedy Bachmann.
Hedy Bachmann and Bettina Kieser were so crucial in the game against the United States, despite the fact they walked away with a loss on that one. Those two women really helped get the momentum of the offense going, which I mentioned was flat, a little stagnant coming out. No surprise, Kieser is trying her best to get things moving.
Rebecca Forth in no particular hurry to tap this disc into play. Marked by Sophia Wagner. Wide open underneath cut for Nikki Prien. And there's the first good D that Germany has shown. Bachmann gets underneath and knocks that away. Let's see if the Germans can capitalize. Appeared to be contact. Call made by Katharina Aschenbrenner. Look from here like Ellie Hand fouled her from behind. What is a gal supposed to do with her hair on a windy day like this?
Cut it off.
I've got some scissors in my bag if you'd like me to do the honors.
Right now, actually, I would take you up on that.
All right. Well, coming up at halftime, look at Megan at trim. Great Britain, a little too much on that backhand put. Bachmann trying to jam it up line, and that's not going to work against the Great Britain defense that was expecting such a maneuver.
Great Britain performed as best as you can in that situation. They tried to push the disc towards the sideline in which the wind is blowing. Germany was pinned from the start.
Oh, and a nice hand block right at the point of attack by Sophia Wagner. Rebecca Forth not getting away with that high backhand release again. This is Bettina Kieser airing one out, and to the ground it falls. So a bit of an ugly point here at 5-0. The UK leading Germany. Ugly points to be expected in conditions like this.
Yeah, that's the third turnover in a row from an away throw.
And yet perhaps you wipe that turnover off with a foul called apparently on the mark. Yelena Gorlin on the mark, a name that many in North America might remember. She played on numerous championship teams with San Francisco Fury, a 7-time champion under the great Maddie Sang. 7 straight titles and back-to-back runner-up finishes for Fury the last 2 years. That deep bomb sails out the back. I think the further away you get from that 7 championships in a row, it becomes more and more impressive. And the fact that they're 1 game away in back-to-back years from making it 9 in a row. It's an empire.
It absolutely is, and there are so many teams that walk in believing that they can take them down, but Fury has developed such an intelligent program. They peak at the perfect time every single year, so even if you manage to eke out a win against them earlier in the season, that's not necessarily an indication that when it matters most, you'll be able to do that again.
And they are looking for a new coach. They have been for some time, very aggressive on social media. I would not want to be the one to replace Maddie Sang, though. Deal with those comparisons.
Big shoes to fill.
Germany with some solid swings. Going into a wall of wind. Wagner plays it back. This is Bettina Kieser. And that one just floats over the intended target. That's the thing. You want to have the disc with that upward angle to give it the air bounce to allow it to float, but the wind could also take it and send it 40 meters into a direction you weren't planning.
Yeah, it takes getting a little bit lower on your throws, putting a little more spin on that disc so that you can adjust for that.
Back and forth we go on this 6th point of this women's division game between the United Kingdom and Germany. And this is when you're battling not just the wind, but the fatigue factor. Although it's not like these throws have been covering the whole field, although this one, a deep shot defended. A deep shot into this wind represents about 15, 20 meters. Francesca Scarampi picks up. Nice snag, claw grab by Ellie Hand. And that sneaks through into the end zone for Nikki Prien. The marathon point goes to the Brits, who now lead at 6-0.
Forth finally able to hit a target with that forehand put down the line. Notice that is definitely the favorable sideline in this wind. As I mentioned earlier, that margin of error is much wider over on that end. Pinned against the opposite sideline, even the tiniest mistake is magnified by the wind.
Certainly when you go to Beach Worlds, you expect some wind, whether it's in Brazil, Portugal, Italy, or in the Middle East. This is the fiercest breeze we've had this week. Megan Tormey played at Beach Worlds back in 2004. What did you expect going into that international competition, being that it was the first ever Beach World Championships?
I was very nervous, to be perfectly honest. I had just started playing Ultimate about 1 year earlier. I would say it was the highest level I had played at that point in my career. But I walked away feeling a lot more confident as an individual and also understanding how wonderful the Ultimate community is, not only in Chicago where I'm from and where I started playing Ultimate, but also internationally. I met many friends both abroad and in the USA who I still hold dear just because of that tournament back in 2004.
In and out of the grasp of Kyoko Hosokawa, nearly a full field shot. It ends up being a pretty good punt though, and Germany will defend. So close. And you started playing Ultimate at the University of Chicago. What took you to the field for that first opportunity to throw the disc?
Well, I was looking to do a sport for the first time in my life. I had been performing arts mainly in high school, and so I wanted to try something different.
Your performing arts skills have led you into a great direction as well.
Thank you.
The most articulate and theatrical Megan Thormy.
I tried out for the rugby team, but once I learned what tackling was, had no interest in completing my tryout. I tried taekwondo, intramural sports, and then my college...
Germany is on the board. They finally, after more than 23 minutes of play on this gusty afternoon in Dubai, have found the end zone, and it's Svenja Wagner. A cathartic score for the Germans. So Taekwondo wasn't for you either?
It wasn't for me, so my college dorm mate suggested I try Ultimate Frisbee, and one of the...
God bless her.
Yeah, one of my early friends in the Ultimate community was none other than Exton Titcomb of the Titcomb family. Of course, they are the owners of 5 Ultimate. When he's on your team, it's hard to have a bad time, so I became a convert after that.
5 Titcomb siblings, the 5 Ultimate brand, very pervasive internationally now. And Rory and Sheena Titcomb playing for the USA women's team. That was broadcast on Sunday after the opening ceremonies. We saw the Titcomb parents here, but we did ask them about those names. And I think they said they wanted to have unique names for their kids. And they achieved
They
that
definitely
goal.
succeeded.
They didn't want another Megan or another Evan or another Brian.
They wanted their kids to actually be somebody.
Zaylin, Exton, Vero, Rory, and Sheena. And each of the 5 Titcomb kids has a silent H in their name. One of the premier Ultimate families, along with the 4th family, Katie and Rebecca Forth, who have done so many great things in Ultimate. Chatting with Rebecca Forth before the game. She's played at Paganello for seemingly 1,000 years. Won 11 Paganello.
Her sister Katie, her twin sister Katie, 2 wins behind. So Katie's only had 9 wins.
Only.
Oh.
What a slouch.
9 wins compared to her sister's 11.
Megan and I have 47 wins between us.
But who's counting?
Unfortunately, we're talking about Settlers of Catan and not Paganello. But Germany will try to go into this wall of wind. The United Kingdom could take it a half with a stuff and a downwind score. Rebecca Forth just moved back to Austin. Went to high school in Austin. Born in Great Britain, sort of back and forth. They have gone, and you know, they caught the Ultimate bug in 1994 when they were 19 years old. Said, what happened? And, well, just by coincidence, in England in '94, the World Championships were held, and there was an epic, great game in the finals between USA and Sweden. And you know, it's funny. I've talked to many in the Pacific Northwest and Canada who mentioned, like, I think it was 2002 Worlds in Vancouver, some of the great games there that inspired to pick up the disc and start throwing. Hopefully There are people here in the UAE that will see what's going on the beach here and be inspired to pick up a disc and realize how great this game is.
Yeah, I think it's interesting though, my story and the Fourth's story are similar in that we picked Ultimate because we didn't want to play another sport, the Fourth twins not wanting to play indoor hockey, chose Ultimate instead.
Or outdoor field hockey.
Oh, field hockey. I'm sure as Ultimate grows in popularity and gains the exposure that it is, people will want to play Ultimate for Ultimate's sake. They'll know immediately what that sport is.
We were chatting with the founder of Bula earlier today, and when do you start playing Ultimate? 1979. And to think about where this sport was in 1979 and where it is now, and then where we might go 35 years from now. Think about the growth from 79 to now. Obviously still a long way to go, and well, in this game not quite as much remaining as Great Britain excited about taking it to the half, leading 7-1. And this really has been a one-sided affair, which is not necessarily what we expected. I think we hoped for more and thought the Germans would provide more of an effort.
Yeah, I really feel like about 3 points in their 6-point difference stem from early nerves where they dropped right on Great Britain's end zone. Had they come out a little more prepared for throws to be tough, then they might have kept their wits about them for those few very quick turnovers. Now, what Germany can do in this second half to at least make the most out of this game is reassess how they plan on running their offense. They're going to need to get it off of the tough sideline as quickly as possible and understand that that'll take short passes. You have to be ever ready, and you have to understand that a disc that looks like it's coming straight to your hands might pop up at any second. So keeping an agile, ready stance to move with the disc will really help them at least start to gain some momentum.
Adding some insult to injury, because it's half, now Germany needs to go into the wind as they switch sides of the field. I think back to how I started playing Ultimate basically my freshman year of college in North Carolina at Wake Forest University, and I still, to this day, a dozen years later, it's hard to say what exactly compelled me to go to the quad during freshman orientation to play pickup. I remember seeing a flyer. It was a beautiful day, Monday afternoon and Wednesday afternoon, and I had enjoyed throwing a frisbee, but I had never before seen anybody throw a flick, let alone throwing myself. Had no idea about this community, and that's what astounds me more than anything else when we hear someone, I started playing in Sweden in 1979. Well, I grew up in Massachusetts in the late 80s and early 90s. How did I not know about this? And I think that's the key going forward, to eliminate that question. How did I not know about this is not a reasonable question for someone to ask going forward. And the reality is, I fell in love with the game because of my teammates at Wake Forest University and the community that it represented. And it's the community that needs to help this sport grow and gain further traction. Contact in the end zone. And never in a million years, and I'm sure you as well, did we imagine when we started playing this game in the early 2000s that our journeys would take us to be in a position to be here at the 4th Beach World Championships in Dubai. It is completely and totally surreal.
Yeah, I've said such a thing a number of times. I studied abroad for a summer in Germany and spent the entire summer every weekend. I would pick up with some team at some tournament. There was always an opportunity, and I got to see a lot of Germany that way and thought, never before would I have had this opportunity if it wasn't for Ultimate.
What was it like playing sort of with international players for the first time when you were overseas?
Well, it was a great experience for me. The University of Chicago doesn't have a very strong Ultimate program, so I got to learn from a lot of different people, learned a lot of different drills, and was able to take that back to my team at the University of Chicago. So it was a really expansive, eye-opening summer for me. And that was actually the year that I then traveled to Portugal for the first ever World Beach Championship tournament. So all around, a very expansive Ultimate summer for me that year.
Contact here, two German players colliding in pursuit of this deflected disc, and again, the Great Britain team just a step or two quicker. The D made there by Francesca Scarampi, and reaching into the air, Joanne Roberry, making Vanessa Lowe. This is fourth. Rebecca Forth throws to the laying out Vanessa Lowe. You watch a player of the experience of Forth and her pivots and her fakes and just her command of the field. She's the quarterback when she has the disc, and oftentimes when she doesn't have the disc. Great Britain looking to finish off this point with some basic end zone offense. There's a poach wide open to the back of the end zone, but nothing there but a great cut. How many times in her life has Rebecca Forth gotten to the open side quicker than her opponent, is heading toward that front cone, or in this case, the front pylon. And Great Britain scores the first point of the second half.
I think the MVP of that point was definitely Vanessa Lowe, 89. Had a few great saves that kept the disc in the position of Great Britain. A couple of tough plays just to keep the advantage in their court.
The United Kingdom now leading 8-1 over Germany. Here in the women's division, the wind continues to howl, although for the first time in quite a while, it's beginning to sustain itself in one direction. This is an upwind, downwind game right now, and Germany will have the wind at its back on this next point after back-to-back points going into the wind, thanks to the half factoring in. That is about as good of a pull as you could expect in these conditions. Izzy Burke let that backhand fly. How close did you become with the German players that you got to play with and against when you were overseas abroad?
Well, I typically picked up with the team just for one tournament, so I wasn't a part of any team for more than one weekend.
So you were buddies with everybody then?
Buddies with everyone by the end of the summer.
Germany, on a downwind opportunity, capitalizes for its second goal.
And Kieser to Bachmann, a connection we've seen so many times, both in this game as well as in their game against the United States.
Great Britain needs 5 points to put this one away. We're 10 minutes away from the soft cap. It's looking like Germany and Canada is going to be that 4-5 pre-semi. And beat Canada by 3. Germany did the first time they met. That game is going to be just in a couple of hours. So the question now for Germany, can they put a couple points together here, gain some confidence in this win, and begin the process of regrouping to stay alive in this tournament and make it to the semis, which would be a pretty good achievement for the Germans.
That's a great question as to whether or not they can accomplish that. I feel like both Germany and Canada have had some tumultuous games. So they're going to have to be at their most reliable to play well in that 4-5 game.
And then there's the question of the ceiling, Megan, of this Great Britain team. And nobody has played the USA women tougher this week than Great Britain. They took them to Universe Point. And the ladies of Team USA were able to win that pivotal point and stay unblemished. But certainly some uneasiness for Team USA and some confidence for Great Britain in their ability to compete with the Americans. We were chatting with both Christy Burtwhistle and Rebecca Forth, and you know, they were very simple. They said, we came here to win. No doubt about it. That's the bottom line. We came here to win.
And sometimes knowing your mission, knowing your goals so clearly and concisely like that can help you come out with a confidence that you need to win a game like this, simply because this is not the end of the road for them. They have their eyes here, but they have their eyes set ahead as well. So they came in with the understanding that nothing was more important than this game. They wanted to make sure they had an easier matchup in their next game to ensure them a chance to face the United States again. They remembered the score clearly from the last time they matched up in the World Beach Championship tournament. Plan to give them quite a run for their money this time.
9-2 at the moment. Great Britain in front. We will have one more broadcast for you today here on Dubai Sports and SkyMagazine.com. Coming up at 3 p.m. local time. That's 7 a.m. on the East Coast and 4 a.m. for the Insomniacs in San Francisco. Portugal and Russia in the mixed division. And I'm really looking forward to that one. Not necessarily the pronunciations of all the Russian names, but that Portugal team came into today 5-0 in the mix. Watched a lot of their game against the USA mixed team, and it was a battle. USA ended up winning by 3 or 4 breaks, but Portugal really tested them. Down a break early, got it back, and forced that USA mixed team to really play their best. And to USA's credit in the mixed division, they did. Nikki Spiva, Markham Schaffner, Kevin Cox, Adam Rady, and Samantha McClellan, Jenny Fay, Claire Desmond, some of the USA mixed players representing America in that division. So curious to watch Portugal play up close. And Russia's not shabby either. I think, you know, Russia has been one of the teams that everyone in the tournament has been talking about as a country that has perhaps exceeded expectations.
Yeah, and watching them in their game earlier this week, they came out with a lot of firepower. These girls, the women on that team, have been training for a little while together. They haven't had a ton of time as an entire team, but about half the team had a lot of opportunity to practice together, the other half working individually to make sure that they were ready for this tournament. They came out with that kind of confidence, knowing that they were as ready as they could be given the circumstances, and they were ready to show that they were contenders.
Great touch on that forehand from Anya Kusha. Great Britain goes upwind and toward the ocean. A break for the Brits.
At that point, I feel Germany finally exhibited some competence in this wind. We saw them move back and forth with a little more ease than we've seen thus far. Hopefully that'll give them the confidence they need to push through on this point. Obviously not working with the wind in their favor, but proving that all hands can touch the disc, and that will result in at least generating a half field momentum.
Our 6-camera setup here at the World Beach Ultimate Championships. There's a good-looking fellow. I know Megan thinks so particularly.
I do agree.
Although he's still smarting from the ultimate setback he endured last night. After all the games had finished yesterday, the broadcasters and some of the crew were down on the field. Megan's husband, Will, who we just saw, was playing against the broadcaster team, which was really his big mistake, because, you know, the chemistry that you and I and Brian have developed, not just in the booth, but obviously translating down onto the field in a epic best-of-3 game. The broadcasters prevailed 2-1, and in our quasi-spirit circle afterwards, you were quick to bestow Brian Jones the victory, and with the award that you bestowed it, that's why he gets this game off. He's relaxing right now in a chaise lounge, drinking a cocktail perhaps.
Yeah, we agreed the winner of that 3-on-3 game, the MVP, would get this game off.
Brian, a beautiful full field backhand huck for the game-winning score. Germany looked pretty good up until that mistake. So a few minutes shy of the soft cap here. Ladies from Great Britain are going to get this win. You've seen Team USA women, and you've seen the Great Britain women now. What chance do you give the Brits of taking down USA in a championship round?
It depends on whether or not Great Britain makes the adjustment. They suffered quite a few turnovers early in the game. They kept wanting that long shot that just wasn't quite there. Obviously, with a margin as wide as we have in this game, they had the luxury of making that mistake repeatedly. In the game against the United States, they'll need to be a little more heads up and recognize that when a throw doesn't work a couple times in a row, you need to shut it down, make some adjustments downfield if you still want that option. The timing of the cuts needs to improve. If they're able to do that, then of course I think it will be a closer game. But the United States will not give them the luxury of those second, third, and fourth chances if they want to make the exact same mistake over and over.
But certainly, you match up the top of GB's roster and the top of USA's roster. There's some interesting matchups there in terms of elite talent.
Yeah, the United States has some real fighting power, both offensively and defensively. The nice thing about the U.S. roster is you've got some really well-rounded players. You're not relying on one person like Great Britain has relied on fourth in this game to kind of keep the momentum of the offense going. On the United States, they have a few more people who are totally confident with the disc, especially in this wind. So you need to get it down the field 2-3 throws, and then you have fast cuts coming under as well as looks long. I haven't seen that much versatility from Great Britain today. That could of course just be the conditions, or sometimes that's how the pieces shake out. At this point I would give the United States the advantage simply because they have the versatility and they learn from their mistakes a little bit faster, but of course it's always hard to tell when you have a wide margin. Sometimes you tend to be a little more relaxed, like Great Britain has been so far today.
In the women's division, there's been the least separation from Team USA to the rest of the field. Scrolling through Twitter when I woke up around 4:30 a.m. this morning because I couldn't sleep because of the jet lag. Great tweet thrown out there by Sludge Ultimate, who master of numbers in the Twitterverse and on the web, and breaking it down. And he had the average margin of victory for USA in each division. And heading into today, no USA team had lost. As far as we know, that's still the case, but something could be going on in the distance that we're not abreast of. The smallest margin of victory for any division in regards to the USA versus everyone else was in the women's division. And a lot of that had to do with Great Britain taking Team USA down to the wire and losing on Universe by just the one. They beat USA by 1 4 years ago. So the Great Britain does have some experience giving USA a game and in fact taking them down. This has been a Great Britain demolition. Jumped out to a 5-zip lead before Germany got on the board. Scores have been few and far between for the Germans. This is Bachmann, and another mistake. Right on the money. That's just that throw right there, a microcosm. Great Britain's been able to convert that. Germany has not. And there's the mistake, throwing behind the intended target, which was Liza Bowen. Again, we'll have Portugal and Russia in the mixed division for you just over 2 hours from now. Our coverage here of the WCBU 2015 continues from Dubai. Germany going downwind. for the third goal. This is a nicely angled put.
You can tell the wind has died down just a little bit earlier. That throw might have sailed all the way to the opposite end of the end zone. But now with the gusts coming a little less gale force-like, that put had the viability to become a score.
It's now a game to 12. Great Britain could win it going downwind here. This Great Britain team beat Russia in a close one by 2, losing the one sudden death game to USA. Again, Katie Forth and Rebecca Forth, the leaders of this team. That was Rebecca. And this Great Britain offense has been super smooth, even in the harsh conditions. Nikki Prian gets the dump and to the end zone for the clincher. Great Britain with a dominating performance against Germany. And the Brits take it by a final of 12-3. They threw the first punch, and it was nearly a knockout. Any doubt left evaporated quickly when Great Britain just kept pouring it on in these breezy conditions here in Dubai. So the big picture conversation shifts. Germany likely to have to play in that 4-5 game against Canada in the women's division as they move into bracket play late this afternoon. Meanwhile, the Brits likely in the top 3 with Russia and the USA, and everybody targeting the Americans. And Great Britain, certainly with a performance like this, did not have to expend a ton of energy. Should be in a pretty good spot to give USA a shot over the next couple of days.
Yeah, they have a few adjustments to make, but ultimately I was very impressed with how eagerly they attacked this game. Of course, Germany would do well to shake it off entirely. This was not their best performance. We certainly know they're capable of more than that, and since their next game is going to be tough as well, maybe take stock of what works for them, kind of focus on how to bring that out in games in where the conditions are very tough, and they stand a chance to give Canada a good game for their money as well.
So again, the final, Great Britain 12 and Germany 3. For everyone with Dubai Sports and SkyMagazine.com here in Dubai, my broadcast partner Megan Tormey, I'm Evan Lepler saying so long for now. We're back with you in just over 2 hours for a mixed division contest featuring Portugal and Russia. An incredible international competition continuing through Friday here in the United Arab Emirates. But for now, we bid you adieu as Great Britain dispatches Germany convincingly 12-3.